believe that we started recording right in the middle of 2020 with all of the COVID and lockdowns going on around us, unable to meet up. So like many a young gentleman, we turned to the internet for our entertainment. Tried to find a place where we could meet up and talk about the good, the bad, and that time that Stu saw a pelican on the canal. In order to facilitate our dreams of answering all of the big questions in film, and after a few attempts at recording via other methods to various levels of success, we found Zencastr, a super easy web-based one-stop shop for recording. Log in and you're ready to record in a matter of seconds. It doesn't take a tech genius to get high-quality audio or video. And on top of that, the one time we have had an issue, the fact that the multi-layered backups are stored locally means it's easily fixed all in browser. There are plenty of tools you need when you start podcasting, so let Zencastr take that headache away as it offers a place to record, edit and distribute all from one website. Any lazy bones Jones can pick up and play and have studio quality audio or 4K video put out for the world to see when using Zencastr. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code CAGEFIGHTING and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. We want you to have the same easy experiences we do for all our podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. And now, hit the music.
I feel the need for speed.
Hello and welcome to Cage Fighting Cruise Castathon Music Castathon. I don't know what it's been that long since I've been on a podcast. Hello, Matt Guy here.
Evening, everybody. It's Andy here. Matt, it's good to see you back. It's been far too long. It's
been a hot minute, hasn't it? Yeah. I am swimming in a lake of parenthood and work and sweat as it's really, really, really hot. I don't want to timestamp this, but it's still mega hot. I'm in the garage, which is like the worst of all the elements because it's really hot in the summer, really cold in the winter. And I'm just surrounded by stuff I'm trying to sell on eBay, which is like a hobby of mine now. Like just buying crap and trying to sell it everywhere. But for those who haven't heard my dulcet tones on the pod, for any newer listeners, this is a MusiCast where we're going to talk through a little bit about music, probably link it back to film a little bit, and just generally talk about the audio side of life, really, as both me and Andy especially are very much into our music as well as film, and it forms kind of a... I was thinking about this the other day, such a crucial and impactful part of a young man's life. And I don't want to get like too philosophical on the recording, but I was thinking about kind of light bar, and I was thinking about going to like rock nights and everything growing up, and kind of the music that you're into and everything, how it speaks to you as a person and everything else. And I think this is down to the fact that I'm doing a lot more running at the minute, and I've got this habit of just listening to albums from like when I was about 16, like Papa Roach and Limp Bizkit and stuff like that, just kind of like taking me way back. And it's been an absolute joy, to be fair. What's kind of on your listening radar at the minute? Anything particularly new, or you just kind of take the old school? What's on your radar at the minute?
The only new thing at the moment is Olivia Rodrigo's album.
Tell me about that, because you sent me a little WhatsApp about it, and it did pique my interest.
Yeah, so I love a good concept album. Something that's like, there's more than just the music, and this is sort of what this album is. So it's basically the story of a relationship. So it starts with everything where they meet, it's all happy and great, and every now and again there's a lyric in there that just hints to the possibilities of things that could go wrong. And then we get to the midpoint of the album, and it's a track called Purple, and the first half of the album is red, the second half of the album is blue, sadness, and red for love. So together they make Purple, and Purple is like where the whole album hinges on that track. And then the second half is like some of the most genuinely sad music I think I've heard in quite some time. It's like, lyrically, I think it's really good. It's got a bit of Robert Smith on there. There are several Cure references as well as that. So it's tickling my love of Olivia Rodrigo and my love of The Cure. So it's doing a lot of heavy lifting at the moment for me. Wow. I think it's genuinely a really good album. And I occasionally go on a website called Rate Your Music, and it's IMDb, but for albums.
Mm-hmm.
And you can go on there and you can put in, if you're looking for whatever year, it'll tell you the best album of that year. So I'm currently on the website for hauntology, which is a type of music that I've never heard of. And the best hauntology album is Boards of Canada, Geo Gaddy. But I was having a look at 2026, and currently Olivia Rodrigo is the 16th best rated album of the year. So it's doing pretty well.
Now, me and my kind of elitism, call it, or music casualness for pop music, I hear kind of Olivia Rodrigo, I just think it's going to be bubblegum pop of no substance or anything like that, just because it's music I don't really know. But a concept album like that actually sounds like it's got some real depth to it. Like musically, is it in the pop sphere, or how is it from a pure musical sound?
It's pop, but it's not like Sabrina Carpenter pop, which is very bubblegum pop. I still think she's an excellent artist, but it's more guitar-driven pop music. Than anything. Like, she does play guitar, she plays piano as well on some of the tracks. So like, she's very musical herself. Like, it's not just a case of she's a pretty face, so they've made her into a pop star like other artists get away with. She does actually have some musicality to her, which I think that's so important in the modern day. Like, you've got to have that bit of authenticity to survive in this world now. I kind of fear that the days of the X Factor winner just being popular because they won a contest, I feel like we've sort of moved away from that for the majority. So you do need to have some substance to what you're doing.
Nice. And what album do you kind of routinely go back to? Doesn't matter the weather, doesn't matter the mood, doesn't matter the occasion. Is there an album that's just still constantly on repeat, maybe 5, 10, 15 years on?
So there's a couple at the moment. There's one from 20-something years ago. So The Strokes' Reality Awaits is out in like 3 weeks' time. So I've been going back, listening to some of their early stuff, some of Albert Hammond Jr.'s solo projects. And the other band that I've only somehow recently got into is Weezer, specifically the Blue Album from like 1994. I'm 32 years out of date on it. So like, obviously, I've been learning to play guitar and I've been learning some of the Weezer tracks, and I hadn't quite realised how great they were. Like the tracks that everyone knows, like, oh, this is fun, this is cool. And then you listen to some of the possibly lesser known ones and like, oh, this is actually brilliant, and they're fun to play, which I think makes such a big difference when you're learning.
Yeah, it's funny because, and we're kind of getting onto the podcast we're listening to it in a minute, but it wasn't until I listened to 60 songs that explain the 90s, parenthesis the 2000s, I think it was, that it explains Say It Ain't So, and quite how sad a song that is. And it's about a son feeling abandoned by his father and all these kind of things. And I think you think of Weezer and you just think of Beverly Hills, and you think of like, Buddy Holly, and it's like, the happier, poppier, almost throwaway side of that kind of light rock, I guess. But actually, again, there's some real substance in Weezer's work, and they also have one of the greatest cover albums in the Teal album. Some absolutely great covers on that album as well.
Didn't that all start didn't it come about a joke that people wanted them to do Africa by Toto?
Yeah.
So they just took that and ran with it, I think.
And on the old Johnny Cash way of just getting into the back into the mainstream again, maybe. But yeah, I completely agree with you on Weezer. I mean, I'm seeing Pup, a Canadian punk rock band, at the weekend, and it's just beautifully tied into the fact that England will be playing on the Monday early hours, because I'll already be out in Sheffield for the gig, staying in a hotel, away from wife and child. So I'll just stay out now for the gig, so that'll be great. So listening to a lot of that at the moment. What else am I kind of listening to at the minute? So as I say, I've kind of got back into listening to just pure, unadulterated nu metal, really, just to help me on my kind of running side of things. And then I've really been going knee deep into kind of audiobooks and podcasts at the moment. So, I mean, this is incredibly like midlife crisis now, but I'm now the Rest is Politics Plus member, only because I've changed my energy supplier and it's given me a free subscription. So I listen to a lot of that, and this is like for anyone listening out, there is going to be nothing niche here. There's only going to be popular podcasts, so you're not going to get any like recommendations out of me that are mega niche at all. But I'll just list, kind of film versus history, Michael Vittorio's Guide to Parenting, fun stuff like that. But what I want to try and get into is get back into listening to some, I won't really call them self-help podcasts, but kind of podcasts around parenthood, stoicism, stuff like that. I go back into a little bit of more reflective stuff, really, because I mean, what I really want to do, but I keep finding reasons to not do it and procrastinate on, is get back to learning Italian again, man. I was really enjoying it, and I could genuinely hold a conversation like for a bit, and then you kind of just you just find a reason not to carry on with things like that. I guess I think it's hard when you're not kind of in a space where you're talking a language very often.
Definitely. Like I imagine it's the kind of thing that regresses really quickly.
Yeah, exactly. What are you listening to podcast wise, audiobook wise at the minute? Anything exciting?
So no audiobooks on the go at the moment. I finished Project Hail Mary on your recommendation, actually. Nice. I really enjoyed that. I thought that was excellent. Yeah. I'm currently reading a book called The Escape Room. And on the cover it said it was basically like The Traitors. I'm a fan of The Traitor, so I'll give this a go. It's very bizarre. It's very British. The basic element of the story is that some people are in a game show, they get sent onto an island, and it's an escape room. And they keep making reference to other reality TV shows. Like, nice. I like that. One of the characters, she's blonde and she's beautiful and a bit vapid. She's like someone off Love Island. And I don't quite get it because it's not a world I know a great deal about. Yeah. And I don't think I've ever read a book that is so referential to stuff that is very zeitgeisting now. So it's a bit weird. Would almost take me out of the moment a little bit. It does shock me a little bit every time they mention it. I don't get those references. It's proper, like, it's trash, to be perfectly honest, but it's fun trash nonetheless. So, like, I am enjoying it. It's just a bit strange. And like, there's parts where it starts off with a murder that I presume is going to come back, but we don't know what happens. We've then got the main character going on a podcast to talk about the events, and she jumps back between being there in the escape room and then being on the podcast. And it's such a weird thing because podcasts obviously being such an audio-based medium, to be having a podcast interview whilst talking, it's really strange. But as I said, it's enjoyable. Did someone like change the signs around and you brought up like a teen thriller accidentally, and when it should have been like a horror book in like Waterstones or something? It sounds maybe it could be like a teen, like young adult section of Waterstones or something like that. In fairness, I love a young adult book. Yeah, they're easy to read, and like Hunger Games and stuff, it can be quite a fun read. So yeah, it feels like it's bordering on that sort of element. There's been more of that than there's been the murders so far anyway. Yeah, fair enough. Well, as with any MusiCast episode, I'm going to pose 3 questions to you, and then we're going to discuss an album that, by your own words, took you by surprise a little bit, hopefully for the right reasons. But question number 1, and like time stamping this quite heavily so far this episode, but it's the World Cup at the moment, and as we know, America loves a halftime show, and I think they do have a place in kind of American sports, and I'm not 100% against it from a World Cup point of view, but obviously they can, I say get the fuck for the UK, but I do quite like the stupid games they do at Molineux sometimes, especially when they and then if they have like the disabled games at halftime that everybody kind of like sniffs out first, but then by the end, if the Wolves team score, everybody fucking loves it. I don't mind them either. But if you had an unlimited budget, build the best possible halftime World Cup show using only Canadian, Mexican, or USA artists. Well, I've gone for one each, and as I said to you before, it was literally a case of I'm having to Google who is Mexican because it's not a world. So I listen to a podcast, NPR Music, and they do an alt Spanish music episode every week. And I never listened to that one. I listened to the one on a Friday, which is new music. So I did have the excuse to actually find someone, and I don't know anyone. So it's going to have to be Carlos Santana from Mexico, because that's the only Mexican I know who makes music. There's bound to be loads of others, but I feel like he's the only one. When it comes to Canadians, like, I don't want to say Bryan Adams, because I feel like that would be awful, and I feel like that would be super 90s. But then at the same time, I think I would go for a bit of a 90s icon with an Alanis Morissette.
Ooh, nice.
She's kind of pigeonholed to Jagged Little Pill, but actually her discography is quite varied, especially as you go on and on into it. She's got quite a lot of work that I think is worthy of mention. So I think she's probably the best Canadian musician, at least the best who immediately springs to mind to me. And then for America, because the final's going to be in New Jersey, I believe, which they lie and say is New York. It's got to be the Strokes, hasn't it? Like, if you're going to do a New York-based one, you're going to have the best band from New York, or at least probably the best album that's been produced by New York. And New York's made a lot of very good music. But yeah, I think those would be the three that I would go with. I don't know what kind of concoction it would sound. It would be horrific, probably.
Yeah, that is an interesting one, to be fair, 'cause I don't know. Could I see... I mean, I could see Santana and Alanis Morissette kind of linking together in, like, but I'm not sure how the Strokes fit into that equation, to be fair. Speaking of the Strokes, and you mentioned their newest album, it's quite from what I've heard, it's quite a departure from sound. Is that right, from what I hear?
It's a departure from early Strokes. I think if you listen to the New Abnormal, it's sort of back on the track of... When was the New Abnormal? 19, maybe? Yeah, so I think we're talking about... It sounds like recent Strokes, not early Strokes. There is a point midway through where they turned up the feedback and the electronica on Jules's voice, and it's been different. I think since he started doing his solo stuff with the Voids, they've changed a bit.
I mean, for someone who's not like as au fait with the Strokes as you are by a long shot, how far of a departure are we talking? Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino and the Car Arctic Monkeys departure, or not quite as extreme as that?
Probably not quite as extreme as that, but like early Strokes is it's garage rock, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not precise. It's quite sloppy. I say it's easy to play. It's not easy to play. It sounds easy to play. That's the difference with it.
Yeah,
and I think with the later stuff, it's electronica. A lot of it is. Mm-hmm. There's still a lot of guitar and stuff going on, but there's more electronic sounds, and there's some kind of distortion on Jules's voice. Like they have leaned into the... I don't want to say Simeon versus Justice, but they're bordering onto that level of electronica in parts, I think.
So does it sound like when he's doing the Lonely Island track? What's the Lonely Island track he's on?
Yeah, it's not Jizz in My Pants.
No, Boombox, the Boombox one.
Yeah.
They're closer to that than anything, yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
It might not be too bad, to be fair. Well, speaking of Lonely Island, yeah, I mean, the Mexican side of it would have been Santana if I was being serious. But if I wasn't being serious, I'd just have when Brock Lesnar was in the feud with Eddie Guerrero when he came out with the mariachi band. That's the only way I can shoehorn a wrestling reference into the podcast. From a Canadian side of things, because I kind of want something that's obnoxiously obnoxious as this World Cup is in terms of hydration breaks and everything else. So I'm going to do something to annoy the world, much as a lot of this World Cup is, and I'm going to have a rock off between Canada's greatest rock export and America's greatest rock export, and I'm having Nickelback versus Metallica. That will just annoy everybody. I'm having Lars's drum kit from Saint Anger that everybody hates. I'm having Nickelback, who are criminally underrated and will go down, by the way. But yeah, everybody hates them for whatever reason. And yeah, I'm gonna really ham and stink the joint out by having like a rock off between those two, and see how people like it.
I mean, they're sort of trying by putting fucking Coldplay on.
Yeah, exactly.
British band, but they are leaning into that anyway, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think like the halftime show, I get it. I get why it's such a staple of like the American football side of things. I can understand why that translates over. But yeah, it's just, I mean, the way it's gone in boxing is so bad now. Like I remember when Tyson Fury was fighting and Liam Gallagher came out and did like a pre. This is pre. It was after the Oasis reunion had been announced, but it was pre the actual first gig, and he did like a 3 or 4 song set, like before the boxing, televised, and it was just the weirdest thing. I just don't think it's something we as a culture, just
Strange.
as a UK culture, like get really. But I know it has its place in American sports, so we'll let bygones be bygones. But yeah. So moving on now. This could have been a foolish decision. It could have been a terrible decision, but I've bought tickets to Download Festival and we're taking Rory, by then 3-year-old son, to a music festival, 5-day music festival. And I need some advice, Andy, on how I'm going to survive it with a toddler. Give me your best unorthodox advice for surviving a music festival with a child.
I like how you've come to someone who doesn't have children.
Well, this is you know what I mean. But these are the thinking outside of the box answers. Do you know what I mean?
But my answer was going to be: is it too late to leave him at home? Just stick him in front of the TV for the weekend; he'll be fine.
Yeah, I know, and I'm sure as much as he would love that. I think we've committed it on the basis of let's give him memories that we never had, kind of thing. I mean, I remember I went to my first music festival when I was 16. My dad took me, and listen, he was I feel like you're only ever old when you start using this sentence, but it was a different time back then. But literally, like, I'd just go off all day on my own, come back, like, whenever, like, if we never saw each other for the entire festival. Except I remember really vividly, he was like, right, I just need you to have a good break. As if this was going to solve me, like, going off and, like, joining, like, and taking crack or anything like that when I was there, because I just want you to have a good breakfast. So he gave me, like, two pouches of porridge to eat per day. So I'm like the stodgiest like I've ever felt walking around like fucking Download Festival. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be fun. I think we're going to. It's just going to be a very different vibe. Now it's funny because like I'm on like different festival forums and stuff like that at the minute, and there's like quite a bit of moaning from Download Festival kind of veterans, if you like, about the rise of the amount of children that are going to that festival, which I think is ironic, really, that Download itself sells itself as this like really inclusive space for like LGBTQ plus and everything else, but that's fine. But children are the Antichrist. Now I know you think children are the Antichrist, and that's fine because when they're in a cinema, etc. Like I get it, so totally get it. But like at a festival, I think with rock music, especially because like rock bands aren't getting famous now in the same way as. If Metallica were around now, they'd never be Metallica. Do you get what I mean? Like, being a band just doesn't pay anymore, and that coming through. So you think that the space needs as much help in trying to get people into it as possible right now?
And it's not like if you take, like, obviously taking Rory, it's not like you're going to be in the mosh pit telling people back the fuck off. I've got a baby. Exactly. Like it's not spoiling their fun. So why would they give a shit? I don't get that. That's really odd.
Yeah, I don't know, but you know what? I think like the rock crowd, it does have a bit of a kiss of the old autism about it more often than not. I think as well. I think there's a few,
Right. Okay.
I just there's something about it's very elitist and it's very there are it can be very gatekeepy as well. In kind of so maybe there's an element of that, but. I will certainly pose your advice to Sam and see how far that gets me anyway.
I suppose you could always like try and make games because I'm guessing there's going to be times where he's going to get a bit bored.
Yeah,
like I'm sure there'll be times that I would get a bit bored at a festival. So like maybe try and get some games and stuff like that involved in it. Well, they had dog watch and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they had this year, like believe it or not. They found this really weird niche Download now where I think like the year that we went back after like 10 years where they brought the Venga Boys back. They brought the Venga Boys to Download and no, I think it was McFly was the year and you couldn't get within 200 yards of the tent that they were playing in. Like you couldn't get anywhere near it. Then they had Venga Boys. The festival just gone with Scooter was there. And a few like 90s like dancey stuff, like, and people just lap it up. And, like they have like dedicate like so in the very start of the day or even before the bands have started, they have like kids silent discos and like little fun things that you like raves and stuff for children there now, like rock raves and stuff for kids and stuff. So it's just like I think it's great. I think it's really good to have I tell you what I did find weird though. So, it's not weird, but so because we've got a camper van, we're staying in the camper van section, and so someone posted, go back to like the kids thing, and I just thought it was the weirdest post I've seen on Facebook. It was like, so 2025, 2025, while we were at Download Festival, we conceived our beautiful baby girl, whatever it is, and here she is now in 2026, and they've got this newborn with her. And like, I'm just like, oh god! Imagine just being like they go every year now, like until they're like, I don't know, she's 10 or whatever, and they go, so mummy and daddy, how did I come around? Well, we fucked in this field. Do you know what I mean? It's just weird as fuck. Like, but I guess
that is strange.
Yeah.
To then keep returning to the scene of the crime,
exactly,
with the crime itself, like is odd.
With the proceeds of the crime. Yeah, exactly. There we go. And finally, I want to know, taking it back to film in some way, the greatest song made solely for a film by a popular artist. So it wasn't a film taken from an existing album, it was made for that film. What's the greatest one, in your opinion?
I've got what I think might be the greatest song and what probably is the best album. So the greatest song, I think, is probably Eminem, Lose Yourself. Okay. I feel like that still kicks arse today. Like, I think that's a really good song. It was Eminem at the height of his powers, giving it a belt. Like, they still play it at the Molyneux half the time, you know. Like, it's part of the pre-match routine and stuff there. It's got legs. It's a good song that probably makes the film better than it actually is. The album, I think if you're going to do the top 10 greatest bands who made songs, I think most of the top 10 would be filled with Bee Gees' Saturday Night Fever stuff. How Deep Is Your Love, Night Fever's on there. What's the other one? I'm sure there's like 3 big hitters that they had. Staying Alive. Like, I think you'd have those 3 would all be in there. So I think that would be I think that would be the best album, at least for that genre.
Oh, I never really thought of the Bee Gees. I went too stupid with this to actually think of anything actually good like that, because I just wanted to have a Nickelback reference again and say "Hero" by Nickelback. Well, it's not. Well, it's by Chad Kroeger. It's by Chad. It really is. It really is, and it's had a like a meme renaissance. I don't know if you've seen, because like it's kind of like linked in at the same time as that Linkin Park one, where it'll have like some scene where a child will like run up to their dad and go, "I love you, Daddy," and then it'll just turn to that Linkin Park song. What's it called?
Oh, the Transformers.
Yeah, the Transformers one.
Yeah.
But I've seen that for like Hero as well. It's just so funny. Like the Transformers, the funniest one that gets me every time is that Joe Biden one when he turns around and smiles.
Yes,
it's so funny. Like, I just think, what do the aliens think when they look down on us, and like what they're seeing from like society? They see that. But yeah, that Chad Kroeger song "Hero" really is a belter. To be fair, I feel like it'd be really easy to go down the Bond route, and some of the like "Skyfall" by Adele is a good song. To be fair, I know you're not a biggest Bond fan. That is that, and the one that Chris Cornell did as well. I forget the name. But that was like the unofficial Skyfall song that never made it, I don't think. But yeah, the film soundtrack doesn't seem to be as. I'm wondering, in the age of the vinyl that's like really coming back and linking it into like games and the digital media thing now. I wonder, like vinyl seems to. Well, niche vinyl is making a comeback. I don't think like standard just black disc vinyl is particularly exciting for people anymore. But kind of, you know, you're sending me like really cool album art on vinyl, and I mean, you sent me a subscription the other day for cassette.
Yeah, cassette's like making a comeback.
The wildest thing. I wouldn't even know. Like, it's depressing because you see things like they'll show like a teenager now a MP3 player, and they probably don't know what it is, much less a CD player, much less a cassette player. Like, what the hell is a cassette? But it is kind of a nice nostalgic thing to have. But ultimately, I think it would just end up in a cupboard that I resent that I've got to clean out.
Yeah, I think especially cassette, because I get it with CD, because I think CD is probably the best format, physical format, quality wise. So I get like a renaissance for CD. Vinyl, like, you'll never beat the crackle when you put a vinyl on.
Yeah.
So I get why audiophiles like that, but cassette doesn't have that. Cassette's not a great quality. It's no more portable than a CD. So I don't really know why we've had this cassette renaissance over the last couple of years. It's a bit of a strange one to me, that is.
It's not like we were in the height of Guardians of the Galaxy when that came out, and that was like
that would have been the thing.
You know what I mean? Yeah, when that because that travelled far. That Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 and 2, especially the whole soundtrack thing, was a huge part of that film. You know, so yeah, it's a strange. I think it is.
When it comes to anything James Gunn related, like the soundtrack is a massive part of his movies. And I was in HMV on the weekend looking through the vinyl, and like they've still got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and 3. I think they had the 2 albums in there. So like it's still something that's still selling pretty well. I know on following Peacemaker, James Gunn was adding the songs onto his Peacemaker playlist on Spotify so that people could keep up with it. But you are right, like it does feel like it's a bit of a dying breed. It's every film used to have a soundtrack, and now it's few and far between.
Yeah. And so that's the end of kind of the questions that we want to go through today. What I want to do now is go into Album Club and recommend that the listeners out there pick up an album. Well, we may not recommend it because we might not like it come the end of the discussion on it, but I want to talk about BC Camplight. Now, to give you some context of why we're talking about BC Camplight, many years ago, when I was in a band, we played the Civic Hall. I wish we played the Civic Hall. The Little Civic, countless amount of times, like an unbelievable amount of times. It was, for anyone not from Wolverhampton, it was the venue for kind of local bands in the area to play a gig that had like a good stage, good sound system, good, you know, legend. And when I'm talking legendary bands, I'm talking like Muse have played there, like the Darkness have played there, like loads of bands have played there. You know, it's not like it's like a poxy back room of Walkabout, like we have played as well many times. But you know, the Little Civic is like a legendary venue in Wolverhampton. And we played there loads, but we were asked to support BC Camplight. Now, we'd never heard of BC Camplight, but because this was the first time we'd been asked to support a signed artist, I immediately ran out and bought the album that was being basically toured, and it was this album.
Okay.
The gig then got cancelled, and we didn't play it. So I was devastated on that, and I was like, "Oh man, I was really looking forward to playing this gig." But then I had the album, and I thought, "Oh fuck it, I'm just going to listen to it anyway." And thus became Hide Run Away, which is the name of the album. So to give you an idea of BC Camplight, it's the stage name of American singer-songwriter Brian Cristinzio. I'm sure I pronounced that horrendously. And it's kind of, well, I find it really hard to kind of pinpoint this as a style, because if it's not heavy metal and it's not rock, I never really know where to pin this. Is it indie rock? It's described online kind of as piano driven indie rock, orchestral pop. I don't really know where it lands, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. And we've spoke about BC Camplight before, me and you. I remember ages ago, and it's funny because he was critically acclaimed in the United States, but he relocated to the UK and rebuilding his career. We've kind of talked about mental health, addiction, and kind of a lot of personal themes. So he's kind of become a bit of a cult. I think you can hear kind of a UK influence in there, to the point where you'd be easily forgiven for thinking he was from the UK. I think Hide Run Away is the debut album from the 2005, introducing kind of a quite emotionally intense songwriting, but it's kind of melodic pop, a bit experimental, and it's kind of very much an underground album. I don't think many people have heard of it, but your initial thoughts, Andy, when you when you were asked to listen to this, I think you were expecting one thing and it turned out to be something very different. Talk me through that.
Yeah. After you'd said to me that we did speak about it, it was when I saw the album cover, I was like, oh, I have actually heard a few tracks off this one before. So I did remember it like in the recesses of my mind. But I don't know, the name BC Camplight, the fact that it's come from yourself, I was expecting something much, much heavier. But when Couldn't You Tell started, the first track, I was like, oh, this could be Ben Folds. Like, it was proper, it was proper piano-driven pop music. And I thought, oh, shit, this... Like, I double-checked to make sure it was the right album because it was just so far removed from what I was expecting it to be. And as it went through, I think each track, like, there were similarities, but there were enough differences that it didn't just feel like it was 11 versions of Couldn't You Tell. I think there's enough variation. Lyrically, I thought it was quite nice and light. I probably need a couple more listens to get into the minutiae of what he was talking about on some of them. But it felt like it was like a coherent album from somebody that was doing his debut, and debut albums aren't always that coherent, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
Like I said... sorry, go on.
No, it's just interesting because originally from New Jersey, no less, he has kind of travelled around, and I think you can hear an American / UK kind of partnership there. I mean, he was he relocated to Manchester following the advice of a fan on social media after kind of he was dropped by his label and nearly quit music with kind of mental health issues, drugs and alcohol. Now, this isn't kind of the debut album territory here, but I think there's definitely an element to me hearing kind of, I don't know necessarily the Beatles as such, but there is definitely an early English whimsicalness about like this album that's kind of flower pop in a way. I don't know if you agree with that. I think there's elements of it here though.
I think the term is Baroque pop.
Okay, nice.
I think that's what it is. Like, it's stuff that you'd probably more associate with harpsichords and Baroque music, but in a pop setting. So it's got this older feel to it, but obviously it's a modern setting. Because one of the bands, like I've mentioned Ben Folds, Mercury Rev were another band that I thought this sounds very inspired by that. And I know around that time as well, to go back to the Strokes, Albert Hammond Jr.'s first album, In Transit, there was a song on this album that sounds exactly like one of the tracks off In Transit. I think you'd really like that album, actually. If you like this, I think you'd really like that one.
I'm going to have to have a listen to it, to be fair. I mean, there's very little around for this album from a kind of critical review. I mean, Discogs has it at I think it's 4.25 out of 5 for the album. And it's quite as I say, it is quite niche and underground. And I think without having a legitimate personal reason to listen to it, I probably wouldn't know too much about it, to be honest. There's a few kind of tracks in there that I really, really enjoy, and that really stand out. And there's a few kind of, I think it's hard to say anthemic because it's so far away from kind of stadium rock as it gets. But there's like Wouldn't Mind the Sunshine has a few kind of, again, pumping isn't the word I'd use, but it's quite like, it is the more toe tapping elements of it, or the kind of sing along moments in the car. The actual, the title track Hide Run Away definitely has it as well. And like Couldn't You Tell, it has this like weird organ noise at the very start, and it like just sets a tone of, yes, this is something a bit more experimental and a bit different, but there are little snippets and droplets of pop just to keep it palatable enough to like enjoy it. As for me, this album is the ultimate it's the Owen Hargreaves of albums, in that I can listen to it in the car and then enjoy it. I can listen to it doing the washing up when I just need something relaxing. I can it's harmless enough as an album, but it's also got the ability to listen a bit deeper and enjoy it from that level. I really enjoy it. I think it's worth a listen for someone who wants to take the slightest of dip into kind of experimental indie rock. And kind of enjoy it. If you were to kind of recommend it to anybody, what would be your kind of 30-second sales pitch to someone who was going to listen to this album?
Yeah, I think I would probably direct them to Oranges in Winter. I think that was the song that did it for me. It reminded me of like Stumbling Home, Winter Blues by Ben Folds. I think if you like melancholic, is that the right word? Maybe. Yeah, melancholic, piano-driven pop, bite-sized pop, because none of these tracks, like the longest one is 4 minutes 30. Like, there's nothing that outstays its welcome. Yeah, that's it. It's melancholic, bite-sized, piano-driven pop. And I don't think you can go far wrong with that. There's nothing offensive on there. There's nothing to think, oh God, that song was terrible. At its worst, it's like fine. But at its best, it's comforting. Yeah,
exactly that. Like, no, like I'm not gonna come out and say this is the next. Well, I'm trying to think of like a massively critically acclaimed album that isn't David Bowie, and someone's going to tell me he's a pedo. But like, you know, it's not going to, you know, reinvent anyone's wheel or anything like that. But yeah, it is comforting. It's something that like I get a nice feeling about when I listen to. It's just a nice listen, and sometimes that's all you want, isn't it? It doesn't always have to be. It doesn't always have to be something like that you go to war and listen to.
Definitely.
Although I am 100% going to listen to that Olivia Rodrigo album now, because that's the second time you've like I saw the TikTok on it, and then you've explained that to me as well. Yeah, it sounds like a good listen, to be fair. Excellent. Well, that is MusiCast. I hope you've enjoyed it. For those listening in, we're going to try and mix it up a little bit and do this a little bit more often, and kind of recommend albums and kind of talk through genres and things like that. So keep a listen out for that. I'm sure Andy will give you the lowdown in a few episodes of time on what we're going to do there. It's been really nice to get back into the podcast fold with you as well, mate. Hopefully we can get a Guild Games cast action with Stu again soon. Christ knows there's plenty to talk about PlayStation and their Machiavellian ways at the moment.
It's all kicking off, isn't it?
GTA 6 and everything else. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, all I care about now is Fable coming out, but it's like early 2027, so I'm going to keep myself occupied until then. But yeah, really enjoyed it, mate. Thanks for having me back on.
It's been a pleasure, mate. It's good to see you, as
you too,
always.
Mate. Well, everybody, enjoy the rest of your week. Look after yourselves. It's going to be a hot one again, so why not sit in the bath, cool, nice bath, listen to BC Camplight, and have a wonderful old time.